What's up everyone, and today I'm bringing a deck profile on my Qliphort. Now, it's been a while since I updated Qliphort, clearly 2 years, and there's definitely some things that have changed with this deck, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, one thing I'll mention with this deck, it has a bit of a breaking problem. Basically, if you don't see one of 6 cards, then it's going to be a very rough game. But in addition to those 6 cards, we also got 6 more ways of searching them. So we do have ways to get to them, which is very hard, but without them, the games are going to be a lot harder. So I'll talk about them when we get to them. But first, let's start off with monsters. We run, of course, 3 scout, search any Qli card, throw it to the deck. Also run 3 monolith. During the end phase, draw a card for each monster that was treated. 3 Qliphort disc. Now, all the effect monster Qliphorts can normal themselves without tributing, and they have an effect whenever they are tribute summoned or tributed. Disc, whenever you tribute summon it by tribute summoning a Qli monster, you can special summon 2 Qli monsters from your deck, but destroy them during the end phase. Which really isn't much of a problem because they got a link 2, so you can just summon those 2 and link them off. Also run 3 Qliphort stealth. Now, stealth, when it is tribute summoned, you can turn 1 card in field, return to the hand, and your opponent cannot activate cards and effects in response to this activation. So basically, that bounce is going to happen 100%. They can't respond to it, which is definitely pretty good. Which makes that probably say the of the effect Qliphorts, the second best. Disc is by far the best. Also run 3 copies of the Qliphort carrier. If carrier is triggered, you can target 1 monster on the field, return it to the hand. What's not to say is it is 2 Qliphort carrier. I had another card hiding behind it. 2 Qliphort helix. Where carrier is the if it's tributed, bounce a monster. Helix is destroy spell trap. Also run 2 copies of Qliphort shell. Now shell is normal summoned by attributing a Qli monster. You can make a second attack during its battle phase, and if it attacks the defense position monster, inflict piercing. Also run 1 stealth pod, which can give you life points and do burn damage. It's not the best Qliphort, but still a Qliphort, which you do use. And of course, the big boss itself, Qliphort Towers. Towers in its prime was definitely one of the most powerful cards ever because it was literally unaffected by everything. Nowadays, it has a weakness with link monsters, but depending on the format is if it's going to be a problem or not. Now, if you have skill drain, it's not a problem at all. So ideally having towers and skill drain up basically makes towers unaffected by everything more or less, except battle, which with one of the spells, you can basically erase that problem as well. I run 3 of the Sacrifice, which is the equip spell. Sacrifice is really solid because not only if it's equipped to a Qli monster, you can be treated as 2 tributes for a tribute summon, but it cannot be destroyed by whatever it's equipped to cannot be destroyed by battle. So you can attach it to one of your other Qliphorts to help go into towers, or you can also use it equip it to towers to where towers can be destroyed by battle. That's unaffected by everything. So if you have towers, skill drain, and sacrifice, that towers is going nowhere. The only thing that can really get rid of it is like a kaiju. Next, I have 3 Summoner Art. I level 5 higher normal monster from your deck, which Monolith and Scout both are. Originally, I was running 3 Ash, but I decided to cut it for another card, which is the Time Tearing Morganite. Morganite is pretty solid, more or less because of the double summon effect. Since one problem with this deck is that going into towers turn 1 is very difficult because you need 3 tributes or 2 if you have sacrifice, and you would also have to have 2 summons. So having the Morganite is definitely good for helping you go into towers turn 1, although it is still very hard. And also got, of course, additional effects to draw 2 cards for your draw phase, which could come up. Next, I run 2 copies of Extra Pendulum. Extra Pendulum summon because this deck does Pendulum summon. Usually what you do in a standard turn is normal summon one of the Qliphort monsters. If you have Disc or a way to get to Disc, then you do that. Tribute the one you normal summon you would Pendulum summon that first one, then normal summon the Disc by tributing it, which would trigger the Disc effect. And of course, if you have an Extra Pendulum, then we could do more with that. Also run 3 Prosperity. Gotta have it because the next 6 cards are basically, you need one of them for you to have any chance. Now, first off, I see most builds run it at 1, which I would say is incorrect. And that is 3 Recreate. Now, this is a bit of an awkward card. If a monster is normal flip summon and is level 4 lower monster, negates effects. But a special summon monster at level 5 or higher, effects are negated and is banished when it leaves the field. So it's really good, and it can potentially hurt Qliphort himself. That's only when you pendulum summon them. If you tribute them, they are not affected. Although it's not as much of a downside, really, because again, those are just monsters summoning from the action deck through the pendulum summon. Next, I run 3 skill drain. So you basically gotta have one copy of one of these, because otherwise you have no interaction. This deck has no negates, it's got no pops. Literally, this is your only form of disruption with the deck. So obviously, if you don't have this, you can put whatever you want turn 1 and they're just going to destroy turn 2. But at least with this, we can survive until the next turn, where hopefully or most likely we will have the towers. Moving on to the extra deck. Now, the extra deck for the most part is very irrelevant. One, because all the Qliphort rituals have an effect where you can only special summon Qliphorts. Sad, but you know, that's how it is. Thankfully, we do have a Qliphort extra deck monster and the Qliphort Genius. This links some cards on effect by spell traps and the activated effects of other link monsters. Once you target one face-up card on each player's field, except this card, and both of other effects engage until the end of the turn. So, pretty solid, but the secondary effect is the more important effect. When 2 monsters are special summoned at the same time to a zone, zones this card points to, you can add a level 5 or higher machine monster, which is definitely very crucial. So let's say turn 1 you usually can sub Genius and Disc. Then turn 2 you pendulum summon 2 monsters to the zones, which you can then use to search towers, which between the Disc and the 2 other monsters, or if you want to even use Genius itself, you can go into the towers. Now, since we're basically locked into special summoning Qliphort monsters nearly all the time, the rest of the extra deck is mostly just prosperity fodder and just cards that may in some universe be useful, like 3 also, because they're all Earth. Like, the rest of it is pretty much just generic stuff like IP, Double Phoenix, Unicorn, Beyond the Pendulum, Access Code for links, and for the XYZ, Baguska, Photon Strike Bouncer, and Hope Armager. Strike Bouncer is a negate. But outside of the Genius, you're not really going to summon the rest of them, more or less just because most of the times you can't. So that's it for my Qliphort deck. What do you think of Qliphort? Do you think it's a pretty fun deck? Or do you still think towers should have never been made? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you next time. Bye.